Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Kevin Zwicker from Fast Count, and this is your Monday Night Raw post show for August 11th. We are now on the road to Clash at Paris, one of these up and coming international PLEs that always seem to get a lot of people enthusiastic about what is going to go down at the show. To be honest with you guys, this is one of the more mundane, kind of boring episodes of Monday Night Raw. I think that the highlight, obviously, is the match between Io Sky and Roxanne Perez. I've said it on multiple different occasions for the last several weeks, and I'm not the only one who's been saying this as well. I think pound for pound at the moment, Io Sky is the best in-ring wrestler in the whole company, and I don't think it's particularly close. Roman Reigns is somebody who I tend to always seem to be a little bit more biased towards when it comes to talking about in-ring work. I think the guy is vastly underrated, even though he is one of the top draws in the business. But I think what Io has been doing has been pretty undeniably the best thing going when it comes to the in-ring work. Guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. We are less than 200 subs away from 3,000. So if you guys could be generous enough to hit that sub button, it would be very much appreciated. On my end, everybody coming into the show is probably thinking about that angle that is going on with CM Punk and Seth Rollins after the cash-in at SummerSlam. That has added more intense heat to the fire that is brewing inside of CM Punk. I know you just saw what I just did there. For this feud that he has with Seth Rollins has basically been going on since day one that he has stepped foot back into the WWE. I personally would enjoy us to be able to move in another direction. I think Seth Rollins and CM Punk are two very talented performers in their own rights, but I am more interested in seeing these two guys go in their own separate ways. Another thing that people were probably thinking or probably talking about coming into the show was the contractual status of none other than Karrion Kross. He is somebody who's been making a lot of headways lately, especially due to the, when is his up? Is it up today? Is it up tomorrow nature of his deal? It is official. Him and his wife are free agents, and I'm sure that a lot of people were thinking that we're going to get We Want Kross chants because it was trending for a good amount of time last night online, but we didn't hear a single We Want Kross chants the whole time. It was kind of reminiscent to me of, I don't know if you guys know anything about basketball, but it was during Paul Pierce's last season where Draymond Green told him, who's a notorious trash talker, he said, "You thought you were going to get a farewell tour. You ain't Kobe." Of course, the late, great Kobe Bryant got a farewell tour. And it felt like that, because everybody was chanting, we want truth. We want truth. And Kross did not get the same treatment, which was a little bit shocking to me because, he's been somebody who's been able to get organically over. So I was thinking that we're going to get some chance, but no, we didn't get any chance this week, which is probably a little bit, unfortunate for his ego. But we start off the show with CM Punk. We're in Quebec, Canada. And he's reflecting about, the cash-in at SummerSlam. And he goes on to talk about how, he's worked all this time to become the WWE champion, win a WWE championship again in the WWE. After all these years, he feels like he's really let people down because after he had that moment that he was kind of scratching and clawing to get, it was taken away from him just like that. He goes on to say, you can't hate don't hate the game. I'm fucking that up right now. Don't hate the player, hate the game. And he doesn't hate the game because, as you guys probably know, he is somebody who's cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase before as well. But he says he really does hate the player. And he says next time when he has a rematch with Seth Rollins, he's not going to have to pretend to fake an injury because he is going to break his legs. That calls for none other than LA Knight. Yeah, to make his appearance in the ring. You guys remember last week, LA Knight was screwed out of his championship match by CM Punk, who wasn't able to keep his hands to himself and got LA Knight DQ'd. LA Knight brings that up. He says, hey, if you want to beat on Seth Rollins, you want to kick his ass, do it on your time. Do not do it on my time. He says, when it comes to the rematches for the World Championship, get in the back of the line because LA Knight deserves his shot first. We see them go back and forth. We see Paul Heyman and Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker make their appearance. We get a tag team championship match set up. The unlikely pairing, the two guys at odds, can they coexist? The trope that we have seen from professional wrestling since the beginning of time, we get another instance of that in the main event. Guys, like I said, wasn't that great of a show, but not the worst episode of Raw. Beats anything we saw during the Vince era, especially the last decade, right? So we get into the Judgment Day Clubhouse. You see Finn, he is talking to Roxanne Perez, and he is talking to Raquel Rodriguez. He's telling them, don't worry about what other people are saying to you. Let me start this off from the beginning to let you guys know. If you guys don't know, we were supposed to get a women's championship match between Naomi and Io Sky. Naomi wasn't medically cleared, so we did not get that match, unfortunately. And he says, don't worry about what other people are saying about you. And then they say, well, what are other people saying about me? Then we get cut off, and we see Dominic Mysterio flanked with Grand Americano. Everybody's kind of looking at Grand, like, why? Like, Grande, like, why is he in here? You see Finn take Dom to the side and basically saying, people don't really feel comfortable with him in the clubhouse. And Dominic basically maps out this master plan that he's going to use Grande Americano basically for his match at Triple Mania to basically be somebody who could be kind of a bodyguard in some type of way, shape, or form. And then you see Finn telling us, like, if you're able to sit there and capture the AAA Grand Championship, that will be great. That sets up a match between Dominic Mysterio teaming up with Grande Americano against Dragon Lee and AJ Styles. You guys know AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio, they have been at odds for several weeks now. AJ has been trying to get his hands on Dominic Mysterio, and every single time that AJ is able to do that, Dom finds some way to outsmart him. Dominic Mysterio was mad over in Quebec. This is a guy who very much so like Jey Uso. I like to compare these two guys very much so because they're kind of in the same category to me, where it's like, are these two guys Bret Hart in the ring? No. Are these two guys going to be able to give you a 30-minute, Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega style classic in the ring? No, but they have something that really sets them apart from a lot of other parts of the roster, and that is charisma, that is aura, that is their ability to sell. They have been able to develop some type of connection with the fans, which is the most important part of professional wrestling. And these two guys are elite at it. And we see that throughout this whole match. We see Dragon Lee at the get-go sit there and take out Grande with a crossbody. We've seen multiple different sequences in this match where Dominic Mysterio is able to outsmart his opponents. We see him go in and out of the mask that he wears to the ring. He is the king of the luchadors. If you guys do not know this, Grande, ever since that we have seen the switch from Chad Gable to Ludwig Kaiser, he's added a bunch of different dimensions to his game. I think that this character is silly, but hey, it's getting a guy like Ludwig, who is a very good professional wrestler, time on TV, which is important to help him out. We see Dominic Mysterio being in positions where Grande is able to help him out, look out for him, be this protection blanket throughout the whole match. And it looks as if Dragon Lee is going to take Dominic Mysterio out at one point, but Grande pushes him off of the top rope. We see the plate fall out of Ludwig's hands, and it ends up on the ground next to Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio puts his mask back on. He puts it under his mask. He headbutts AJ Styles, who just gets out of a roll-up from Grande. Grande is able to take advantage of that, roll him up, and we see the heels come out victorious in Canada against AJ Styles and Dragon Lee. Do you guys want a triple Mania post show? I've been thinking about it, but I don't know if the actual like interest is there. If there is interest for a post show for Triple Mania, I will be more than happy to do it. Nothing wrong with talking about wrestling with you guys, but just got to see if people would actually want to watch it. Next, we get Sami Zayn, who is the hometown boy, or at least the home country boy, right? He's from Montreal. They're in Quebec. I think it's the same vicinity. As you guys can tell, I'm not that great at Canadian geography, but I think it's pretty close. But Sammy, he's in Adam Pearce's office. And he's asking Adam Pearce, what is going on? What are your plans for the World Heavyweight Championship at Clash of Paris? Do you have a match set or in your mind? And he's basically kind of, I might watch Triple Mania since I like Worlds Collide. Worlds Collide was pretty good. I like that show. That was a busy day too, because I think there was a AEW show that day too. Huh. I remember watching a lot of wrestling that day. But you see Sami Zayn, he's basically trying to lobby for a world title match at Clash of Champions because as you guys been keeping up with it, Sami Zayn has been on this mission to get opportunity to become a world champion, something that he hasn't been able to accomplish in WWE. If he has this matchup with Rusev, and you have Adam Pearce tell him that, hey, get through Rusev tonight, and we'll talk about a world title match after that. He also calls Sheamus into his office, and he says, after last week, if you guys remember throughout the whole episode of Raw, Sheamus and Rusev were brawling. And he says, I can't have a repeat of... That's what it was. Same day as Money in the Bank. That's what it was. I knew it was some other show that day. That's what it was. I remember. Okay, you're right. You're right, Carson. It was Money in the Bank. I was thinking for some reason I thought Worlds Collide was better. I thought Worlds Collide was better than the Money in the Bank show too. Probably because I kind of figured that Seth Rollins was going to win, so there wasn't a lot of surprise. And Mr. Iguana was also on Worlds Collide, which is always a plus, right? Mr. Iguana's cool. But he tells Rusev, he's like, he tells Sheamus we can't have a repeat of last week. You guys remember they brawled throughout the whole show. And you basically have Sami Zayn beg Sheamus, like, Sheamus, this is very important to me. Please, don't interrupt my match. And you see Sheamus agree since they have some type of friendship. He says, but after that match, his Bulgarian ass is mine. Io, she wants a match after having her title match canceled with Naomi. And you see Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez basically come in to make fun of Io and tell her, now you don't have to lose a world title match twice to Naomi. And you see Io tell Adam Pearce, like, I want to fight her. Points to Roxanne Perez. Adam Pearce says, good idea. Let's get that done. So we get that match later on tonight as the replacement for her match with Naomi. Well, Clash of Paris is going to be a interesting show too. I think the couple matches that they set up, especially the SmackDown match, I think Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, I think that's going to be a good one. I think Drew McIntyre was the obvious opponent for Cody Rhodes too, coming out of his feud with John Cena. I don't know if you guys saw today. The rumor is circulating that I forgot which AEW show was. It was. I don't think it. No, it's not. It's one of these AEW shows, whether it's Full Gear or the one that they have in September. WWE plans on having a show that same day again. Making it another instance of counter programming for AEW. It is looking like that's going to be the place where they're going to have John Cena go up against Brock Lesnar, which is going to be interesting, right? I hate it when they do that. Just as a content creator, just having to sit there and it's hard because you want to review both shows, right? And you get more bang from your buck being able to, do two lives, but like kind of makes it like a hybrid or kind of makes it to where I have to choose to watch one live and the other later. Or decide, do I do live for this show and just do separate videos for the other? It really sucks. I have no hype for Clash of Paris. I think that I'm excited for the women's matches. Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, like I said, that I think that's interesting as well. I think that we're now kind of getting into the build of it. So at the moment, there's nothing that's really going to, capture your attention. John Cena versus Logan Paul. I don't know if you have any interest in that. I think that's an interesting match, depending on the way you look at it. Guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. This close to 3,000 subs. Very much excited for that. Big accomplishment if that's able to get done sooner rather than later. When we get into the Sami Zayn versus Rusev match, stylistically, this is an interesting matchup in my mind. I said it multiple times, right? I think that Rusev, since he's came over from AEW, back from WWE to come back now, I don't think people really care. I don't think people really care. And I think that for some reason, I think that he thinks a lot highly of himself than more people do. If you guys remember and kept up with the rumors back then, when he was in AEW, he had the tendency to say no to doing certain creative. And I feel like he kind of thinks he's better than what he's presented to do. And it's just, I don't know. What's up? I would be interested in that if they didn't tease a Brock match first. It makes the Logan match feel like a filler. You know what's interesting to me? Once they announced this farewell tour, I assumed that we were going to get John Cena versus Logan Paul at some point, because they talked about it. Logan Paul talked about how he wanted it, multiple times on his podcast. He did different backstage, during different documentaries that they were doing with WWE and stuff like that. They teased it. But what I think is funny is the fact that we're getting this Logan Paul match, and with John Cena having less than 10 dates left on this tour, it's feeling less and less likely like we're going to have another match with him and AJ Styles, which I think is something that a lot of people wanted to see. Me as well. So it sucks. It's like, damn, we're not getting him and AJ one more time, but we're getting Logan Paul. The Rusev screaming entrance is cringe. I think that the whole package doesn't work as well without his wife. I think that with his wife being there, I think it adds a different dimension. I think that him trying to basically kind of doing this hybrid version of what he was doing in AEW as this redeemer, but doing it in the WWE spin, I don't think it's really working, and I don't think people care. I think when he has these matches with Sheamus, I think people are into it because it's Sheamus and people like Sheamus. But if Rusev is wrestling anybody else, I don't think people care. Now, this match that he had with Sami Zayn, there was a lot of crowd noise, but mainly because it's Sami Zayn in Canada. People were wanting to cheer for Sami, not so much cheer against Rusev. And we got the match. Back and forth contest. Sami Zayn, there was moments where it looked as if he was going to have this match wrapped up in the bag. He looked like he was about to hit a haluva kick to win, but he got his leg pulled out from under him, DQ, because he was attacked by none other than the MFTs and Solo Sikoa. Brand split be damned. If you guys watch SmackDown, Sami Zayn, he was able to pull off a big kind of miracle type of win against Solo. Solo was not going to let that go quietly into the night. So they gave Sami Zayn a case of the beats. The bell rung, so that basically was a tall tale sign that we were going to get Sheamus involved in this as well. We had the crowd come in. They tried to make sense of all of this. There was security. Sheamus was throwing guys around. He hit Rusev with a bro kick. They brawled out into the arena. That's basically how that was able to end. And we saw the MFTs be escorted out of the building. And while that was going on, you had Grayson Waller, Big G, and the New Day whine and bitch about the hat. If you guys saw last week, Penta, he stole Xavier Woods' ginormous hat. They kept calling it, Pierce kept calling it a sombrero. You saw Xavier Woods kept trying to correct him and tell him it's not a sombrero, it is a hat. But we get next week one of the members of the New Day and Big G to go up against Penta. We get a Bronson Reed video package. And he goes on, and I've never understood this logic that they've told with this group about how, Bronson Reed was able to gain Seth Rollins' respect by delivering him that beatdown, right? Let's just talk about this in real life, talk, right? Have you guys ever in your life, or let's just say this, as an example, imagine somebody kicking your ass in real life, and then after they get done kicking your ass, you tell them, you know what, you kicked my ass so good that I respect you and I want you to be my friend now. That's not how real life works. Okay, only in wrestling can you do something like that. Well, we get that. He talks about how he's gained Seth Rollins' respect, but how he does not want Roman Reigns' respect. He is the tribal thief. This is the only reason why he hasn't given Roman Reigns a beating for the third time, is because Roman Reigns hasn't came at him the third time. I like what they're doing with Roman Reigns and Braun, which they are now dubbing Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. I'm interested in seeing him wrestle either one of these guys. Them being in the ring with Roman Reigns, period, I think that's a good look for them. I think it's pretty obvious that Braun Breaker versus Roman Reigns is a future WrestleMania main event. I want to hear you guys' opinion on this. I don't know if you guys seen the rumors that has been boiling within the last day or two about how Saudi Arabia is attempting to get their own version of they're trying to attempt to get a WrestleMania. So there's a rumor that we could possibly get 2 WrestleManias in 1 year, which I think is a horrible idea. And they're trying to get The Rock involved. I think that's such a horrible idea. And what it's interesting to me as well that TKO has gotten this reputation amongst the fans that they're just greedy and it's the dollar over everything. And having another WrestleMania kind of encapsulates all of that, right? It's very unnecessary. And I know that the Saudis are going to throw, trucks and trucks full of money to get that. But it's just like, at what point is too much too much, And another thing that's an interesting conversation that I think would come out of that is, at what point is a WrestleMania main event devalued and loses its prestige to the point to where it doesn't hold as much weight as it previously has? I know there's still people now that debate, is the WrestleMania Night 1 main event truly a main event? Imagine what it would be like if there's 4 main events. Like you would have people debating about it, like, well, you're a WrestleMania main eventer, but you main evented the Saudi version. Or you're a WrestleMania main eventer, but you main evented night 1 of the Saudi show. You're not really a WrestleMania main event. At what point does a WrestleMania main event be devalued if there's 4 of them? It's an interesting topic, and it's an interesting time that we're living in where that's even a thing to be talked about. Because I do think much sooner rather than later, we're going to get to a point where every PLE is 2 nights. And it's just going to become an insane amount of wrestling to consume as a fan. And it's going to make it probably virtually impossible for anybody to go to these shows if you have a normal job. Especially if you have a normal job in a family, right? So we get into Io versus Roxanne Perez, which I said was probably the highlight of the show. Io, love Io's in-ring ability. Roxanne Perez, ever since she's been called up from the main roster, I feel like every week, she's been able to show different layers of her game. She's somebody who's been mentored by CM Punk. We all know how close they are. And you could see just by the presentation and the ability to incorporate new moves that she's really been able to step up her game. Going up against Io was a big test. I think that these two ladies were able to deliver such a good match. Especially, it felt as if, with everything kind of being a little bit mid this week on this episode of Raw, that it feels like it was kind of like a diamond in a turd. We see, before this match, as you guys probably would assume, Raquel was going to come out with Roxanne. And you see the Kabuki Warriors before this match started. They offered to come out with Io Sky to even the odds. But Io basically says thanks, but no thanks. So the Kabuki Warriors say, okay, we'll agree to that, and get to a point in the match where Roxanne is distracting the referee. So the Kabuki Warriors, on their own accord, come out to try to even things out. They hold on to Roxanne Perez's arms against the rope, basically signaling for Io to hit her. Roxanne is able to escape. She is about to run into the Kabuki Warriors, but she stops herself. Roxanne rolls her up 1, 2, 3. The biggest win of Roxanne's single career has taken place tonight against Io Sky, who, like I said before, is, in my opinion, the best in-ring worker in WWE today. We get a backstage interview with Jey Uso. If you guys didn't realize it, last week we did not see the Yeet Man make an appearance. And before I get more into this, guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel out in more ways than you even know. We are this close to 3,000 subs. So close I could taste it. So he goes on to say, he missed Raw last week because he was taking care of some family business. But seeing after what he saw with Roman Reigns getting beat down, he's coming back with receipts. He says that he wants a rematch with Seth Rollins, the third man tonight who has said he wanted a rematch with Seth Rollins for that world title. Then you see LA Knight come out, and he says, if you want a chance at the world title, you're going to have to get into the back of the line. Jey Uso says, that line, this line, whatever line, gives LA Knight his respect. But he ends it off with his yeet. Signing off. Last week, it was made official that Becky Lynch challenged Maxine Dupree for a chance at her Intercontinental Championship. And throughout this whole match, you basically saw it kind of as if it was the master versus the student. Becky Lynch, first ever woman to main event a WrestleMania, which this is an accomplishment that I find harder than any other woman who was able to main event WrestleMania. She main evented WrestleMania when it was just one night, which was hard to freaking do. I know that a lot of that, dealt with the fact that Ronda Rousey was involved, but still, Becky Lynch was involved in the first ever women's main event at WrestleMania and came out victorious. So this whole match, Becky was schooling Maxine. Maxine is somebody who they have been kind of telling the story that she's been improving and working hard on the scenes. And there was moments in time where it looked as if Maxine, she was gaining some momentum. But obviously, with Becky being the much more experienced person, the whole time throughout this match, she was yelling at Maxine that you don't deserve to be in my ring, tells her to get out. Maxine puts up a little fight, but Becky Lynch was able to win this match with the disarmer. She made Maxine tap out. It was no saving Maxine at this point. We're more than likely getting Becky Lynch versus Nikki Bella at Clash at Paris. I'm sure that a lot of you guys are excited for that. And I'm sure that a lot of you guys are expecting a 5-star in-ring classic. I have 2 questions for you guys. So I'm going to Monday Night Raw next month. It comes in my town. Would you guys like a vlog style video for the show? Something I'm thinking about doing because obviously with me being at the show, I'm not going to be able to do a post show. And there is another event that is taking place in my region, WrestleCade. If you guys don't know, it is probably the biggest convention when it comes to professional wrestling outside of something like, StarCast or a WWE World. And I'm going to meet the man who helped single-handedly bring me back into professional wrestling. Well, not single-handedly because it was 2 guys. One half of the 2 men who brought me back into professional wrestling, and that was Okada. So doing a vlog style video at WrestleCade, trying to pick up some interviews and show me meeting Okada. I think that'd be cool. Vlogs would be sick. I'll do it. I got to bring my cameraman. Surprisingly, I'm sure you guys can tell this is a one-man operation for now, but it's expanding. There's an announcement that is coming depending on how this meeting goes next week, there's going to be some cool stuff coming. Just watch out. So I'll do the vlog. Vlog for when I go to Raw, and vlog for WrestleCade when I go meet Okada, and hopefully drop some interviews for you guys, because there's gonna be a lot of. I got to meet Cody last year. Was he? You know what's funny? Well, this is probably like This is probably going on 2-3 years ago, because they don't really do house shows like that in small towns anymore. So my friend, one of my closest friends, was at the gym, and he was working out, and he said he saw somebody, and he was like, "This guy looks really freaking familiar," but he couldn't tell at the moment. And then he saw his neck, and he was like, "Oh shit, that's Cody Rhodes." So he got a picture with Cody Rhodes at the gym. Was Cody Rhodes nice? Let me tell you guys, I met Kevin Nash a few years ago, and he wasn't nice. Maybe it wasn't the fact that he's not nice. Maybe it's just the fact that, he was tired or something. But it was at a signing, and he signed my championship back there, and he looked like he could have cared less that, in the conversation that I was trying to pick with him. Now, I wasn't trying to pick a marquee conversation, because I'm sure that these wrestling guys, the last thing that they want to talk about is wrestling. But he looked completely disinterested in having a conversation with me. But we get this video package of Bayley, right? And Bayley, she's going on to talk about how, at this moment, she wants more. Wanted to have a conversation. When we say hi. When I was a kid, me and the Hardys were from the same. We're from the same place, basically. And when I was a kid, this is probably like the peak of Jeff Hardy's powers, right? World heavyweight champion, just got done beating Triple H at Armageddon for the world title. And he was at a Chinese restaurant with a couple of people. I don't think that there were other wrestlers. I think they might have just been friends. And he was there, and I was so scared to talk to him. Because one, he was eating, and two, I kind of have this thing about how I don't want to interrupt people when they're doing normal thing. And I could hear his conversation about how, how tired he was, because I guess he was coming off of a big time tour. And I never had another chance to meet him. Now, he's been at a bunch of different other signings that are in my area, and due to the fact that him and Matt, we're from the same place, they're around town, but like, I've just never met him after that, which is unfortunate, right? Because I think they're probably my favorite tag team of all time. I think that's pretty fair to say. No, well, them and the Bucks. So, but Bayley, she's talking about how, she feels less now, even though she wants more. And, after the falling out that she has with Lyra, she has to do this journey on her own. Lyra, she is caught backstage after they show this, and Lyra says she stands with everything that she said about how they need to kind of avoid each other and just have a separation. Io, she is backstage hysterical about how she lost. She talked to the Kabuki Warriors. They're speaking back and forth in their language. You see Asuka kind of just lose it and bump shoulders with Io. Io looks confused. Stephanie McCure, my favorite wrestler in the WWE at the moment. She says, I'm not the only one who was promised a title match. We see Rhea Ripley afterwards kind of confront Io, basically trying to lend a helping hand in this matter, as she says to Rhea to stay out of it. Before we get into the main event, we see Seth Rollins backstage with the Vision. He says, going into this show, I expected to have a CM Punk problem, but CM Punk has an LA Knight problem. I expected to come into this show and have a LA Knight problem, but LA Knight has a CM Punk problem. And he says, all of this is basically means I'm stress-free for the night. I'm going to go on the jet. I'm heading out. You guys take care of this. Then we get into the main event. CM Punk, LA Knight versus Braun. Nothing too special. These guys were able to make do with what they got. CM Punk, I've said it since he's made his return to the WWE. What he is missing in his athletic ability, he has kind of made up for it in his storytelling ability. I thought that his match at the Hell in a Cell, with Drew McIntyre was great. That was phenomenal. I think it's going to be extremely hard for him to top that going forward during this WWE journey that he's embarked himself on. This is a solid match, nothing special. CM Punk looked as if he was going to signal to do the go to sleep, but Seth Rollins comes out. He lied, just like he lied about his injury. They take out due to the fact that they are just overwhelming with the numbers. They're able to give not Braun Breaker, they're able to give LA Knight and CM Punk in case of the beats. Jey Uso, he arrives to make the save. He comes out with a steel chair. The odds are even at this point. Everybody just has a full-on brawl. You see Adam Pearce come out and he calls Seth Rollins a liar, a manipulator. He says basically he confirms that at Clash, I always want to say Clash of Champions. Clash in Paris. It is going to be a four-way. Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Jey Uso, LA Knight for the title. You see the three guys who are going to be challenging for the championship in the ring. They start to brawl. Then we get the Vision brawling with them. The Vision is able to lay out all three of the guys, and we end the show with the Vision standing tall. Like I said, wasn't this great show outside of the EO match to me. I think that SmackDown looks far more interesting than it's already with Cody Rhodes and the Drew McIntyre confrontation. We got the post show for Dynamite on Wednesday, which should be good as well. We're going to go live after the AEW pay-per-view that is coming up. Forbidden Door next weekend. Live following Forbidden Door for the post show. So there's going to be a lot of things coming. And always be able to remember to look out for the individuals and the shorts dropping throughout the week. Guys, it has been a long night, so I'm going to call it there. But guys, like I said, remember AEW Dynamite post show on Wednesday. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe on the way out. I am Kevin Zwicker. I'm out.